for trading with them later. The history of the Norwegian fishing industry, from a small industry to a profitable industry, with Dr. Johan Williams. He is a specialist director specialized in fishing and aquaculture with the Ministry of Trade and Fishing in Norway, and will be the first presentation of the day.
Okay. Am I not on? Okay. It's a short story, and it's my special version made tonight, so it has never been seen before. Next picture, please. That's Norway, or there is Norway. You must give me time. Some facts. This is Norway today. Next picture, please. The economic values of the Norwegian seas are very big. I mean, it's 70% of our export. It's 10% of our employment, 30% of GDP. So we are a nation not only dependent on the ocean, but we have grown out of the ocean. Next. That you can jump over. Next. Then I have compared Brazil and Norway just for fun. It's almost nothing is close to each other, apart from coastline and catches. But this figure shows that it might not be so relevant what we are doing and how we have done it. And we never think that one can copy what has been done other places. But of course we can learn from takes and especially from mistakes. Next. It started, the modern part of Norwegian fishery started around 1,000 years ago in the Viking area. Then the fish became a commercial commodity which they sold. You must not do it so fast. Okay, it started. Okay, but do I speak better on that side? We do it like I say next, then you do. So then next. But it really started around 11,000 years ago when the first people settled along the Norwegian coast. Because we can see that from stone carvings that we have found in coastal areas, that they were actually fishing, and they make drawing of fish, probably a halibut, but we are not sure about that. But as long as there have lived people on the Norwegian coast, fish has been a part of their activity and the diet, of course. Next. Around 1000, as I said, dried cod became a commodity in the Viking area. And the spawning cod fishing in Lofoten, which is fairly famous as the fish comes to you, we don't have to hunt for the fish, that developed in this period. Next. 1200 to 1400, the Hanseatic Trade Union, or trade, it was not a union, a trade union, that was absolutely wrong, but the Union of Traders with the Hanseatic background in Germany, Lübeck was the main city, developed and managed to get a monopoly in many trade routes, also monopoly on further taking the cod out of Norway. They established themselves in Bergen, who has today an architecture which is typical for cities that had the Hanseatic influence. And the growth of cities in Europe created a market for food, because people moved away from the farms and established cities where they cannot produce food, so they had to buy it. Next. Trade brought new commodities, food, foreign fabrics, to Norway. And also the Black Plague, which in 2 years' time killed half the population in Norway. it was the same in many other countries in Europe at that time. Okay, next. Then a small story about how a storm and a wrecked ship changed the eating habit of a country. In 1432, an Italian nobleman, which also had a boat, was going to Rotterdam to do some trade. They met a storm. His boat was taken north of England, and they stranded on this island in northern Norway in 1432. Next. On that island, also in 1432, they were producing dried codfish, not salted, only dried, sun-dried. And no, I didn't say next. He's in a hurry. So this Italian, they learned to eat this, because what else should they eat when they were there over the winter? But I mean, even back in 1432, it was possible to move. So next summer, they went home to Italy. He came from a city called Sandrigo in northern Italy. Next. Today, 12th to 25th September this year, there was the 30th Bacalao celebration in Sandrigo. So for 585 years, the island of Rust has exported dried fish to the city of Sandrigo in Italy. That's a nice little story. And the Italians eat the dried cod the way you eat the salted dried cod. Thank you. Next. 14, 15, 16, 17, the world changed it, but the Norwegian fishing more or less remained the same. There were very little development. They had the same boats. Next. Then around 1800, one moved away from only the dried fish. They developed the dried and salted cod fish product, and a new region becomes a cliff fish, as we call it, because it's dried on cliffs, which is clip in Norway. That's one explanation why it's called it. And the Portuguese, they love the salted cod, and soon speaking Portuguese and eating so Norwegian salted cod became, well, like you do. You speak Portuguese and eat it. Next. Then, in 1843, it's not that ship, but probably something like that, sailed with cod from Norway to Brazil. So that was the first direct export-import of that cod. Next. Then also in 1800 we got a very rich herring fishery on the southwestern part of Norway, which sparked off a big development in canning. I don't know how they did canning in 1800, but anyhow, in a small city called Stavanger, there were up to 50 canning factories. Probably they were not so very big. And they developed, they got a permit. We were, I don't know why they took King Oscar. He's a Swedish king. And that brand became famous, and the brand still exists for different kind of products. The company who now produces the brand is owned by a Japanese consortium. So that's how capital moved, but fish is the same. Next. Then, from 1840 to 1880, because of the salted fish, don't try to look what is on that book, it's just an illustration. And the canning, the fish export value tripled in a 40-year period. Next. Then we had 2 world wars. The sardines got new etiquettes, kind of showing what period we're in. World War II. Then they made shoes out of fish skin. It was rations on everything in Norway that period. So now it has become modern again to use fish skin for shoes and other things. But then it was not because it was modern, but because it was necessary. After the Second World War, next, we started with modernization. And at that time it was freezing. People got freezers, and the government actually all more or less forced shell freezers on the factories along the coast, who earlier only had been selling dried fish, salted fish, fresh fish, and everyone started producing frozen filleted fish in 400-gram packs. A lot of people in that period believed that the fish looked like that. It was square and weighed 400 grams. No head, no bones. Next. This was modern times coming, so it was thought that the women in the coastal community should also have jobs, permanent jobs, full-time work. And to solve that problem, because if you shall have full annual work, go to work every day in a fishing industry, well, then you need to have fish every day. Next. So they developed the idea that we should have trawlers, cod trawlers, and with one purpose, to bring fish to the plants every 14 days, and then give the basis for steady jobs in the filleting factories. And trawlers offshore going, they were 50 meter and up, 45 meter and up starting. That was looked upon as a solution, and licensing was built on every freezing plant must get some trawl fish. That boat is from my home place. We had trawled 3 boats like that. My father was the director in the company, and he didn't like it because they went on a deficit every year. Next. So that concept was not viable. Too many freezing plants and too many trawlers. And today we have reduced from around 100 trawlers at the most to around 40, and freezing plants more around 70 to less than 10 at it is. And the modern trawlers, go back one to the former picture. Look at that boat from 1980, something around 1980, and then look at the new one, brand new boat. Quite different. This boat is a factory. Everything is done on the boat. And that boat costs around 100 million reais. Next. So what they're doing today is that they freeze the fish in, we call it in blocks, or you sell consumer packages which is not frozen, which is fresh or vacuum packed, or what is called some different names on it. Which that is an influence from our salmon industry, who has all the time been focusing at market, while Norwegian fisheries earlier was very quantum oriented. It was to get as much fish as possible out of the ocean on land, whatever price and whatever quality. So next. So what happens today is that these frozen blocks are sent to China. That is fish in Chinese, as you can see. And that is Chinese hand filleters. Because they made a calculation of if it's what is the cost of sending the fish from Norway to China, have it hand filleted, and back to Europe. And it's actually a positive, because the extra flesh you get from hand filleting compared with the bader machine is bigger than the cost of transport. But don't tell anyone, because this is a secret. Next. And the consequence of the changes is that we have taken away subsidies. The efficiency for the fishermen has increased a lot. The vessel profitability has increased, and the fish stock has increased. Thank you very much. That was the short story. We can take one more. Okay. Any questions? At the end? Okay.